Hutchins will lead things off. Gress in the circle on a mic'd up Monday. The first pitch is a called strike one. Sophomore out of Paducah, Kentucky. Hutchins in search of her first base hit of the weekend. She has drawn 3 walks at the top of the order. Great coach Rachel Lawson. Ball and a strike to count. Gamecocks 2 wins already this weekend. Run ruled the Cats back in game 1 on Saturday. And a 1-0 victory yesterday in a game that featured all kinds of drama. Ball and 2 strikes to count now to Hutchins. And Ashley Chastain-Woodard. Great conversation with her pregame. Always fun to catch up with the Gamecocks coach. Tough stretch of games the last few weeks. Going back to the series win against LSU. Hutchins charging this one to Lelio in center field, and there's one away.
We had a great conversation with Coach, as you mentioned, just speaking so highly of all of her players, including the transfers that she did take with her from Charlotte.
It's about 90 minutes away down Interstate 77, so it's not that far away from where 6 talented players began their college careers. Of course, Chastain-Woodard played softball at Carolina. Larry digs in her first plate appearance. A junior out of Riverside, California. 1 for 5 this weekend with a knock into right field in the first frame yesterday. Nothing in 2, and Gress. It's almost like order has been reversed today in terms of what could happen in the circle, with Gress beginning as the starter. And then the potential of Neely Lamb coming in high leverage later on. Jory Hurd could connect the dots there. Sharply to Rhodey at first. There's 2 away.
Yeah, Coach wanted to mix it up. Sometimes you got to do a temperature check to see what certain pitchers are made of. She talked about the strategy behind throwing different pitchers against different teams. She really wanted to throw Gress out there today just to see what she's made of. Throw Lamb out there later. High pressure situations, come in for the close to see what she can do down the line. It's near in postseason play. So you got to do those temperature checks just to see what kind of options that you have down the stretch.
I'm going to give you the temp check tonight. It's 83 and it feels fantastic here in Columbia. You come in here towards the end of April and you could be dealt all kinds of different cards in terms of it could be a little chilly, could be a little warmer. Humidity could already be a factor today. Can't dial it up any better. Rachel Lawson, head coach in Lexington, year 18, and what a tremendous job she has done to try to get the Cats back to postseason play again this year. She told us today she'll tinker with the lineup a little bit to try to ignite the offense. I mean, it was a close game yesterday. 1-0 contest. Winning run scored on a fielder's choice. Vincent came barreling home from second base, and that was it. This one swatted down the right field line, tracking, and that's a fair ball. Knight couldn't catch up to it. Aiming for third is Blum, and Allie Blum keeps the inning alive for UK. And a spark here to begin with a runner at third base and 2 outs.
Around the zone, but really go up and down for the most part.
Defense needs to eat as Lelio grounds out to first base on the first pitch that she saw, and that'll bring in Carly Shelton. The defense is hungry too, right?
Yeah, we all got to eat. We got to eat up here too.
I think so. Smells great. Somebody's grilling out hot dogs somewhere behind that third baseline.
It wouldn't be a game if you didn't have a glizzy, right?
I think so. Shelton from right up the road in Lexington, South Carolina. Actually graduated a year early to enroll with the Gamecocks. And excuse me, swing and strike 2. I see the hot dogs. The fans are hungry.
Your hot dog.
I am pretty versatile. The base is mustard, a little chili. some onions. I'll take a little bit of ketchup. It's not a necessity. Anything over that, like when the hot dogs start getting fancy and bigger at some of the big league parks, and they cost like $15 because they're topped with ice cream and Pop-Tarts, that's where I draw the line.
Ice cream. I love it. No,
you know what I mean?
Pretty particular.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say more basic than particular. Over to shortstop, and Reisner in time for out number 2. Lelio and Shelton, 2 quick outs, and our first look at Ariana Rodi. Got the face mask on. She broke her nose in the series against Georgia. Kept playing the rest of the weekend before she missed a couple of games afterwards. Cranston, Rhode Island. We mentioned the toughness that Ariana Rodi brings to the table. State champion in ice hockey in Rhode Island in high school. Hit a massive home run a week ago at Clemson. That nearly held up the distance, or the distance in that game.
No, that's what you call grit, Roy. Breaking your nose and just getting back out there. It's I don't think everybody can do that.
I know I couldn't do it. I don't know many people that could, but yeah, the toughness. See if that streak continues here that we referenced. Fly ball lifted to right. It'll stay in the park. 0-1 the count to the senior from Illinois. And Hallie awaiting the pitch from Sam Gress upstairs. What impresses you the most about Gress from what you've seen and now witnessed in person here just through a couple of pitches?
I think Gress really mixes the ball well. She's really gritty. Came in all of the games this weekend, shutting people out. I mean, had the save, came in first relief. She hasn't started this weekend, but coming in with the start today, we talked about how Coach Woodard was trying to mix up her pitching staff to see what kind of options that she has down the stretch. But I definitely think Gress is a pitcher that's reliable and will do whatever you ask of her when you call her number.
5 1/3 innings thus far. With that save in game 2 and the win in game 1. Popped up foul territory behind third base, and Ella Chansey is there. There's one away. If you're Kentucky, you're trying to find your groove this weekend. It hasn't happened yet. 1 run in 2 games. Here's Cassie Reisner, who has the lone run this weekend. That solo shot way back in game 1 early in Saturday actually gave the Cats an 1-0 advantage in the 3rd inning. But as a hitter, as a coach, if you're Rachel Lawson, what do you try to do to dial up something different tonight?
Well, you know the Kentucky Wildcats, for their sacks, their sacrifices, they're known for that, but you got to be able to get runners on to even sacrifice. So I think they've got to make better adjustments. And
sharply to Chansey for out number 2. Well, you mentioned earlier, I think you were looking back over some of the counts when outs were recorded in the first 2 games, and there were some situations where maybe it's an aggressive swing early in some of those plate appearances where maybe you'd like to see a little bit more in terms of working the pitch count higher. And here's Madison Clark.
Well, you definitely have to use the count to your advantage, Roy, but at the same time, South Carolina's defense, and we had this conversation earlier, their defense has been on lockdown. They've been making double plays. Top 5 in that category in the nation, 2nd in the SEC in their defensive numbers. So they're locking these teams down on defense. So how can Kentucky find a hole and be able to capitalize? Because these South Carolina pitchers are also not giving up a lot of free passes, and that's one thing that Kentucky did in game 1. They gave
well, she has been so good at third base this year. Was a season ago at Charlotte, of course, but a team captain. 3-1. Is it hard to secure that 3-game sweep when you win the first 2?
It can be sometimes. It just depends. SEC play is just so tough. Talk about the competition that you face, and then the addition in Oklahoma and Texas makes it even tougher. But what's impressed me is the Texas A&M coming out on top in the rankings and really making a run for it right now.
Yeah, Aggies assuming that #1 position. Going back to a week ago. Chancey battling, stays alive with a full count. Yeah, 4-time in a row national champion OU into the SEC this year. Texas obviously has been fantastic. The league has only gotten stronger. And a walk for Chancey. Lead things off here. Bottom of the second. You take a look at the standings in the Southeastern Conference right now. Aggies #1 nationally. Texas #3. OU in search of the 5-peat this year. Tennessee at #2. Technically a half game behind the 3rd place Sooners. And even South Carolina at 9-8 still in the top 12. Shows just a small idea of how deep the conference is. Slow roller over to short. Only play for Reisner would be at first, but the throw is wide. And now South Carolina with runners at the corners.
And Winters just doing enough to get this ball to chop on the ground. Reisner doing what you needed to do to secure it, but doesn't have security over the ball, throws it in the ground, and Larry just can't get it.
Yeah, the difference between Kentucky and South Carolina defensively. You see the errors, and look at the unearned runs allowed at the bottom. 42 by the Cats, just 13 for the Gamecocks. And now with runners at 1st and 3rd, a golden opportunity for Brooke Blankenship. And the initial indication is that last play ruled a hit to shortstop.
That's pretty interesting. I think that was a routine play on any given day. But when you're in this league, when you're in any league, you can't make those mistakes. We talk about the numbers being lopsided and the errors and the unearned runs that Kentucky has given up. You just can't give those up. They usually come around to haunt you, but that throwing error on the last play allowed the runner to advance. Now giving South Carolina more opportunity to score with the runner on 3rd base instead of 1st and 2nd.
So Winters a single. Chancey's going to be able to get to 3rd on the E6. And a brief conversation in the circle. Julie Kelly will have a second to regroup to face Blankenship. So a walk, a hit, and an error so far in the 2nd inning. Blankenship, the senior from Hudson, Florida, River Ridge High School, began her career at Florida State. 2nd in the country going into last week with 6 sac flies. Unusual stat to nearly pace America in.
It is. And one thing that's interesting in looking at her stats is she's doing better in conference play as you take a look at the defensive alignment. Infield pinched a little bit to try to limit that run on 3rd base from scoring.
Oh, we've had some great plays at home plate in this series. And plays that have decided at least one of the games. Over to 1st. And a nice job for Zarelli to look the runner back to 3rd base and get the 1st out of the frame. No, Blankenship is retired.
Larry just a vacuum at 1st base, being heads up, knowing where the runners are, seeing the lead that Chancey's taken coming in, anticipating a throw, but really good heads up play. And think Knight knew to not run through that one to try to give her teammate a chance.
And Lexi Winters advancing to second in the process. So 2 in scoring position for Abigail Knight. Senior from Robbinsville, North Carolina. Robbinsville High School, also a transfer from Charlotte. The baseball and softball family, both parents played in college. Joanna played softball at Mars Hill. Billy played college baseball there, and 1 year of pro ball, the Orioles organization.
Probably came out the womb with the bat in her hand.
You would think. It's a finalist for the North Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year. Oh, a great stop for Hamilton behind home plate. Ball had some heat on it.
Yeah, Kelly just lets that one go. The top half of the zone, he just keeps on going. Hamilton athletic, knowing she's got to be a wall back there for a pitcher.
Inside out swing that is sent foul. Philip Friel's calling balls and strikes behind home plate today, leading this veteran umpiring crew. He did a nice job to make sure that he wasn't in the way. Knight in her 6th season. Slowly to third, and Gamecocks going to plate the first run of the game. Throw back across.
The first run for the South Carolina Gamecocks.
First run of the night is unearned after the E6 earlier in this inning. Here's Emma Sellers, a senior out of Lakewood, California. And Julie Kelly trying to do her very best to limit this damage to just a run. Waiting for the Kentucky offense to heat back up. Interesting weekend last weekend for UK. They had the off week in terms of SEC play. And they decided hammer to Chansey off the glove over to Blankenship. 5-6-3 on the first pitch of the inning for out number 1.
I think Hamilton got all of this one straight to Chansey, got her glove on it. Really good reaction, but it's Blankenship who finishes the play. How about that? I want to check her pants after that one.
Here's Carissa Hamilton. And now Emery Donaldson. After Hamilton ripped that one over to the hot corner. Donaldson, the sophomore from Louisville. Ballard High School. First career hit was an RBI triple this season. First run of the year for the Cats. That was against Pittsburgh back in February. And then she had another incredible play in South Carolina's arch rival, which we'll tell you more about later in this game against Clemson. The Shriners Clearwater Invitational. It's a catch that made it SportsCenter top 10. And Emily Vincent did the same thing a week ago against Stay Tuned. I'm excited for this one too, because we asked Coach Ashley Woodard Chastain, or Chastain Woodard, excuse me, about that play last week by Vincent in left field. So that's got to be the best catch you've ever seen. She said, no, it's in the top 2 or 3. I think she was deciding where that reception marked in her head as I asked her the question. You haven't seen it yet.
I haven't.
And we're going to show it to you. Should be in our next inning. To me, it's the best catch I've seen in person. Maybe ever. Maybe ever.
I'm excited to see. I've seen some pretty great catches, Roy. I've seen
you have.
Kendra Falby go over the fence a few times. I've seen, you know, some people going over the camera well, but I'm excited to see this one. There's a lot of talent, a lot of athleticism on the field. We talked about their defense and what they can do. The product that they put out on the field is just fun to watch.
Well, we saw that moments ago with what happened with Chansey and Blankenship at third and short.
It's a hot corner.
That's why they call it that, right? It's going to be there in a hurry. Good battle here. Donaldson stays alive. 1 for 4 this weekend is Emery. Slow roller over to Rhodey at first. All right, as promised, the catch in left field. Emily Vincent last Tuesday night up at McWhorter Stadium. 2 runners aboard in a scoreless game. So I think it was 1-0 maybe at that point. And then check out the grab at the wall. Not only that, yesterday she scored the only run of the game in a 1-0 Carolina win. Heads up base running from second on the ground out. It's been quite last 6 or 7 days. The catch over the wall, it's in your arch rival's backyard. It was a 1-0 game at that point in time. That ball goes over the wall and it's not called. It's 3-1 in favor again of your arch rival. A pretty important moment right there.
It is. There's so many different factors and angles that you can look at it. I mean, in your arch rival's backyard, you're running, looking over your shoulder to try to track down a ball. And on top of that, this isn't your territory. You don't know how far the fence is necessarily from the warning track. And then you got to time it up to jump over the fence, on the fence, to make that grab over your shoulder. For anybody watching, she made it look easy, but I promise you, it's a lot harder than you think it is. And these players are elite. These are plays that they're practicing every single day at practice, whether they do it once in their career or 10. They're doing it every day to make sure that when they do it, it looks as easy as when Vincent did it.
Well, and she just walked away from that entire sequence, just calm, cool, and collected. Not a big deal. South Carolina native from Elgin, which is, I don't know, about an hour away from Columbia if you want to go due east. Take Interstate 20 in that direction towards Camden. You'll get there. Full count.
I just love how Gress is always so communicative with her defense. She's constantly talking, fostering that relationship between her and the defense. That's what it's about as a pitcher and infielder, outfielder, continuing to communicate, making sure everyone's on the same page.
Second time through the order. Inside for ball 4, and the inning continues. Allie Hutchins, a good take. And coming up Saturday, this weekend, number 7 Florida, number 9 LSU start an enormous 3-game softball series. Game 1, 2 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. On Saturday, we'll move to Game 2 Sunday evening at 6 o'clock Eastern right here on SEC Network. And then Monday at 7, the finale, again on SEC Network at 7 o'clock Eastern. Gators took 2 out of 3 against Bama last weekend. LSU, tough series against the Longhorns. Dropped 2 out of 3. And a big AB all of a sudden after the walk to Hutchins. 0-1 to Lauren Borzilleri. And Borzilleri quickly down 0-2. Lauren's been the defensive stalwart over at first base. Head coach Rachel Lawson swats that one foul. 1 for 6 this weekend after grounding out to first base first inning tonight. Fly ball to left, just short of the track. Nice play by Mitchell in left field. 1 up, 1 down for Carolina.
She's feeling hot. Using the wheels, using her glove. It was a breath of fresh air listening to Coach talk about her and the kind of kid that she is and the kind of kid that she wanted in her program. Talked about her heart, as you mentioned, and just that Gamecock blood through and through. wanted her on her team, and I want her on my team, quite frankly, Roy.
No question. Transferred in from Longwood. She entered the transfer portal, and Coach told us they had a 5-minute conversation, and Vincent told her, I entered the portal to come to Carolina. And in the span of a 5-minute phone call, went back, checked the tape, watched her effort, her grit, and they decided, yeah, we need that glove over in left field. Won a Gold Glove for transferring in, playing at Longwood the 3 years there, but it was a chance to jump in the portal knowing you wanted to end up at one school, and then that one school decided, you know what, we're going to take a chance on you. Here's Lelio. One hopper to first. And just like that, there's 2 away.
Well, that's a kid with a dream, Roy, and I said this earlier. She was happy at her school, but the dream was to come to South Carolina, and she took a chance. Said that her coach would take her back if she did not get picked up by South Carolina, but that story is extremely heartfelt, made me kind of emotional just listening to Coach talk about it.
And Vincent, with the game-winning run yesterday, scored from second base on the fielder's choice, and that catch that we showed you earlier. Here's Carly Shelton batting second again. Carly's brother plays down in Florida. Gators will be featured on SEC Network this Saturday against second-ranked Arkansas. And now Shelton flies out, and a quick inning for Carolina. Rachel Lawson, head coach of the Wildcats. Kentucky, year 18. Offensively about trying.
Phenomenal job keeping the Gamecocks at bay yesterday. You mentioned Vincent having their lone run of the day via the wheels that she has.
Via the wheels. I like that. Could be like a handle on Instagram. Via the wheels.
Got some legs on her.
Into right center field, and Blum's aboard. Leadoff batter standing at first base, and did that against the shift. Hit it right where Donaldson was.
Exactly. I mean, the shift, it's come in handy throughout the course of the weekend, but Blum just does a really good job inside-outing that ball and hitting it to where they're not. And you can see the shift that they have on right now. Shelton squared away a little bit closer to second base. Got her covering on the steal right now, as you can see. But one thing that you do give up is that huge gap in between first base and second base, where second base would be playing if she were straight up.
Blum with 4 stolen bags this year and 6 attempts, and it was Shelton at second base. The Gamecocks, again, you talk about the fundamentally sound softball that they play. Carolina's only allowed 9 stolen bases on the season, and Lexi Winter is a big reason why. 1-1 over to Chansey, aiming for 2. There's the turn for the double play.
And one thing South Carolina is known for is their defense. Another double play. Plotch just hits it right to Chansey, throws it to second base. Bang, bang play, and they are golden on defense.
Would I ask you this question, even though I already know the answer? And of course I'm going to ask it. Is that what you would deem to be feeding the defense?
It is. It is. I mean, Grass is doing a phenomenal job. She's going up and down, feeding her defense. We had some questions about that earlier in the press box about feeding the defense, just allowing the batter to mishit the ball, making it tunnel just enough to where the batter is guessing where it's going to be, and you're able to finesse and spin to get them to hit it up, hit it down, but to where the defenders are. And Grass has been doing a really, really good job at that today. 3 flyouts and 6 ground outs. You just saw one of them already today. So she will go up and down the zone, get you to miss hit, and that's the name of the game, right?
Well, the single, the 5-4-3 double play here in the top of the 4th. Well, the bag's empty now for Haley Mitchell after a brief conversation. Carolina head coach Ashley Chastain Woodard. And the Carolina infield, Sam Gress checking all boxes. Here on a mic'd up Monday. What would have happened if you were mic'd up back in the day at Florida?
I don't think the viewers would want to
I think we would, because you're making me feel like that maybe you said some things that we would have to alter back in the control room.
You know, I think the game is just so interesting, and the way that things have changed throughout the years. You said the control room. Well, we didn't necessarily even have replay back then, so there's a lot of stuff going on in different positions that I played. A lot of communication on the field. That's one thing that we took pride in at Florida, was making sure that we communicated. I talked about Gress doing that in the circle. I think she does a phenomenal job at just being accessible and allowing people into her space, even when she is high intensity and really tuned into the game. And I think it makes everybody better.
All of that work year round, I would think.
They do, and Coach Chastain Woodard said she could probably drive down the highway with her eyes closed at this point. The muscle memory just kicking in, but they're making it work, and I love the support that they have. Husband here, Robert Woodard, supporting her in her coaching journey at South Carolina, but how nice that she's down the road.
Ariana Rhodey sends this one into foul territory, and enough real estate over in right field for Peyton Plotz. When we showed you Mr. Calvin Chastain Woodard, the Lab Shepherd mix, and apparently there is talks and conversations being had about bringing a new puppy into the Woodard household. We'll see if that happens, but perhaps another story for another day. But Mr. Calvin is very much loved and apparently doesn't mind that travel up and down the interstate.
Not at all. She's very candid about her love for dogs, and as a dog owner and lover myself, I can appreciate that, Roy.
A recent trip to Arkansas in which it was Bark at the Park Day, and a couple of puppies roaming around in the dugout that Coach Chastain Woodard nearly brought home with her to Columbia, but they weren't apparently old enough just yet. Robert's in search of a puppy, and we'll let the rest of the free world understand now that they could be thinking along those lines, bringing a new dog to the households.
It's funny because she was looking over at the Pyrenees in the stands, and just somehow that Pyrenees made its way into her arms.
You get a dugout full of puppies. It's going to be splendid. Here's Chansey, and that was just foul.
Some emotional support animals. This game gets a little intense.
No doubt. All right, so you never answer the question. Take one more look, and this was right down that first baseline.
Again, real time, I thought it was fair. You can see the chalk. The chalk does kind of make its way into the air, so surprised no one challenged that play. But
surprised you didn't answer my original question. Would we have had to bleep out a lot of your verbiage back in the day at Florida when you were making your way to the World Series, winning all those championships? Up the middle. Nice play, and the grab and the reach by Reisner. Not in time. And with one away, Chansey standing at first base for Carolina.
I'll get to your question in a second, but I want to talk about, one, how fast Chansey is to hit this over the head of Kelly, but just how athletic that Reisner is to come across the diamond, try to make that play. I definitely think she could have cut this ball off a little bit more, maybe been a little bit faster in her transition to get the out, but nonetheless, a really athletic play to make on the run to try to get out number 2 of the game. But to answer your question, Roy,
finally,
I can't confirm or deny whether they would have had to bleep some things out, but I definitely had some words. As a pitcher, it's so easy to get frustrated over the strike zone, over different plays that are happening.
You're not talking about this game, of course.
I think it's pretty fair. That was a good call.
Okay.
But I think strike zones can change in one inning, in one game, and throughout the weekend. So it's one of those things that has a lot of user error, very subjective. So it's easy to get frustrated when you're trying to be competitive and put it on the line. And
so we would have had to edit your sound. We couldn't have used you for Mic'd Up Monday. We couldn't have done it.
You guys would have loved it. you would have had a ball.
Both Carolina hits of the infield variety thus far. Gamecocks lead at 1-0. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Lexi Winters. Winnie is what they call her down in the Gamecock dugout. Through all of that's happened so far, Julie Kelly has been really solid in the circle so far for the Cats, keeping UK in it. Right back to the glove. It knocked it off barehanded. The toss to first is in time. Well, Right on cue, Julie Kelly. Boy, that had some heat on it.
The first thing I wanted to do was stand up and clap. I mean, that ball was just annihilated straight back at Kelly. But the first thing that she does after her glove is knocked off is look for the ball. Look how much of a gamer that she is to be able to come back up when that ball is just drilled right at her. Winters gets all of this one. How about it? She has to travel all the way to the back of the circle to get that ball and then make a play. That's how hard the ball was hit at her. There's a lot of talk with masks. I'm not a mask person, but when you're on the mound, those balls do get hit extremely hard. And it's important that you protect yourself, but cat-like reflexes, got her glove on it, did just enough to knock it down.
An amazing play for out number 2. Chansey advancing to second. And here's Brooke Blankenship. We were just singing the praises of Julie Kelly, freshman making the start tonight, and has handled it extremely well against a very talented South Carolina team, playing with a lot of confidence at home. Two balls and no strikes to Blankenship. Remarkable story. Cassidy Reisner will lead things off for Kentucky, only trailing 1-0.
I don't think you have to argue. She has been locked in. She said those first few weeks before school started were a little bit hectic with the transfer portal, needing to get more players. 9 transfers, 6 of them from Charlotte. A lot of young players as well, but she definitely has been locked in. And to be honest, when you look at her numbers, she's made transformations at Charlotte last year, winning the AAC tournament, went to regionals the year before, their first ever regular season AAC title, and earned a bid into the tournament. So the last 2 years, she's been in the NCAA tournament, and she's looking to do so again as the head coach of her alma mater.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it that much more special, trying to get Gamecocks back to the Women's College World Series for the first time since 1997. And the 2-2 swatted foul. Take a look at the resume now. We gave you their RPI, strength of schedule, earlier, and there it is again at 4 and 2 respectively, and that record at 34 and 11, the 15 victories already against the RPI top 25, with more to come. You would have to think down the stretch. And certainly rock solid position, the top 16 seed. Popped up, foul territory. Reisner is retired, 0 for 2 tonight, and we started out with a 20-game winning streak after being named the head coach in Columbia June 11th of last year. All the new personnel, 9 transfers, tied for the most in D1. Nobody thought anything of the program back in the preseason. You start the year winning those 20 games, and that was the point in which she knew that maybe this team had a chance to be special. Bunted right back to the circle, and Clark is retired on 1 pitch. 2 quick outs. And at 27-4 here at the friendly confines, Carolina Softball Park. It's an incredible run. You think ahead to the postseason. Gamecocks are able to host here. Big time advantage. You say that about a lot of ballparks and teams and programs in the SEC right now, of course. So a year ago, every team in the conference made the field. 4th time that had happened. Sam Gress has been in the zone, literally. 2-0 the count to Hamilton here.
I think it shows grit. I think the whole world was counting them out, and she brought 6 of her best, as you mentioned earlier, Roy, from Charlotte to compete in the SEC. She knew they could compete. Not everybody did, and I think they're showing the world right now what they can do in the hardest conference in the nation. And I think it puts a chip on your shoulder. You're coming from a mid-major program and then into the SEC and really doing damage and putting up some numbers. Goes to show the kind of community and the kind of culture that Coach fosters.
Shelton's got to run to catch up to it and fires that throw wide right from her perspective. It's a tough play and kind of an awkward angle to have to rear back and get rid of it.
And Hamilton just mishits this ball right to second base. We talk about the shift that the Gamecocks have on. A long way that Shelton had to travel. I think got caught up in such quick movements. Wasn't able to get that ball out successfully. Ended up throwing it past the first baseman, Rhodey. You don't see that often from the Gamecocks, but you see it here today and gathered in the circle to try to regroup. And this team does have 2 outs, so opportunity to get a force at first or second base.
So after Clark grounds out, Hamilton reaches on the E4. And that brings us to Emory Donaldson. Fly ball towards the gap. Vincent, no problem.
Really good softball.
Abigail Knight will lead things off for the Gamecocks. Julie Kelly's been impressive in the circle for Kentucky. And Knight tonight counting for the lone run. RBI way back in the 2nd inning.
Talk about just how successful Julie Kelly has been throughout the course of this game. You heard it from Coach herself. She's been hitting her spots, but she's typically been an inning eater throughout the course of this season. In her 5th inning today, only 2 times this season has she gone 5 innings.
We're talking about the 2nd, 3rd time through the order perhaps being an issue, and Knight hammered that one into left center for a base knock.
This pitch on the outer half, Knight just does a really good job at not doing too much, just allowing the ball to hit barrel and just getting it by the infield. Starting the bottom of the 5th off with a base runner, no outs.
And the Sellers would be due up next. And a pinch hitter comes in. Pinch runner rather, and Nia McKnight. So McKnight standing at first. On a mic'd up Monday, here's Emma Sellers. 314 this campaign. Squares to butt, and the pitch out of the zone. McKnight on the move. Gamecocks are trying to tack on an insurance run or 2. That would have made all the difference in the world last night in that 1-0 victory. And bunted foul. That popped right back up and hit the bat again.
Playing some textbook softball. Like you said, trying to get some All-State. Last night we saw a rubber match. Game was 1-0, like we're seeing right now. So trying to get that insurance.
Over to 3rd, drop briefly, and Hutchins over to 1st. Recovers in time, and a nice play. Advancing to 2nd. That'll be one way to get Knight into scoring position. And coming up Sunday right here on the SEC Network, the ESPN app will have the Men's Golf Championship from Sea Island Golf Club, the 24th consecutive year. It's a 7:30 a.m. start time. The match play format to determine the title. Golf Championship back on SEC Network. All right, so McKnight standing at 2nd. That'll bring us to Natalie Heath. Heath steps in from Sharpsburg, Georgia. And she'll hit for Emily Vincent. Heath went to Northgate High School, missed most of 2022 due to injury. Didn't play following season in 23. Really was a three-sport standout back at Northgate. Basketball, soccer, softball make it 4. The shot put champion for the county, Natalie Heath. Ball and a strike.
I like it. Kelly only first pitch strike to one of the last 8 batters, but she's extremely competitive, throwing around the zone, throwing a lot of pitchers' pitches. We saw her go there for the first pitch, coming back for the third, really mixing both sides of the plate, but throwing really competitive pitches. South Carolina with a ton of discipline at the plate's not biting.
Over to second. Donaldson is there. Advancing to third will be McKnight. There's 2 away. So a productive out for Heath. Brings us back to the top of the order.
And that's what she's doing really well tonight. Finding her pitches, painting the corners, moving both sides of the plate. You saw her go in, out, that last sequence. Was able to get a ground out from it. We talked about how many she's inducing. Finding different quadrants of the zone today. Just looking really calm, cool, and collected.
Here's Quincy Lelio, Oklahoma transfer. Won the 3 national championships there. Softball's been fun again this season. Not that it wasn't that way in Norman, but you're playing every day. It's your time to shine, and you've hit right around 500 most of the campaign. It's been a great first season in Columbia. Ball and 2 strikes.
Coach was surprised, excited, feeling all the emotions for Lelio to come on campus. But the question was, will she go further from home? She's a California kid who already went to Oklahoma. Could she get her to South Carolina? And so Lelio made that call back to coach. Said that this is where she wanted to be. Really heavy in her faith and trusted God, trusted the process, and knew that South Carolina with coach was where she belonged. And here she is now doing it big in the leadoff spot, and the coaches knew that's exactly where she belonged as soon as she stepped on campus.
Remember talking with Patty Gasso, the Hall of Fame head coach at OU last year in the postseason, and talk about that incredible class that they brought in that won all those titles, and Lelio was just waiting for her time. They knew she had talent, just couldn't see the field. As a steady starter, it's been a different story in Columbia. Like her time to shine, she has been tremendous. 4-12 coming into this game. 4-06 now after an 0-for-2 start tonight. But she's made some incredible plays out there in center field, and look to the future. See on the pinstripe jersey tonight, representing team captain, 1 of 3 for South Carolina. And Hutchins send that one foul. It's quickly 0-2. So the 3rd time through the order for Sam Gress, and Allie Hutchins will try to ignite a rally for UK. You see her numbers on the season, and tonight 0 for 1 with that free pass in the 3rd inning. Search of her first hit this 3-game series. Very businesslike approach for Carolina tonight and in the first 2 games.
And typically what you see throughout the course of the game is hitters starting to make adjustments. We haven't necessarily seen that from the Wildcat hitters. First time through the lineup going 1 for 9, and the second time only going 1 for 8 with a walk. 1 extra base hit and a triple by Allie Blum, and a single also by Allie Blum.
That's it. Cats will try to spark in a different direction here. Hutchins has moved into that leadoff spot in Coach Lawson's batting order. She's got more experience. She's seen the ball better out of the windup. Takes a lot of pride in that part of her game. Slowly to second. Shelton trots over, and in time. Bang, bang play at first.
I don't know, Roy. In real time, it almost looked like Hutch legged that one out. I think they're gonna
Kentucky is challenging the call at first base. The call at first base was the runner was out. That play is under video review.
The shift getting them in trouble just a little bit. We already saw 2 hitters inside out the ball straight to second base, making Shelton go the distance to try to make the play. But this, it almost looks like Hutchins touches the bag before the ball is secured in Rhodey's glove, and we'll take another look.
That is close.
It is very close. What do they say? Tie goes to the runner. I don't think that's applicable here. But they have to have enough evidence to be able to overturn the call.
Is that a clear and obvious overturn would be my first question. I mean, that look may be the best angle, and the ball is entering the glove, to me, right before
After
the
video
foot
review,
hits.
the call on the field is upheld. That is Kentucky's first challenge of the game.
I snuck that in about a second before that was delivered. It was close and worthy of a second look.
And I definitely think the challenge was a good challenge. You got your leadoff batter up, trying to get something to shake. I mean, that could have changed the trajectory of the whole ball game. Now you got one out, but with Hutchins on first base, it gives your team a little bit more confidence, and knowing you got speed on the bases, you're able to be that spark plug. We talk about Hutchins and the year that she's having in comparison to the year that she's had last year. Really blossomed in herself. Ask Coach about her hands and why she changed them, and she said that she just did it, felt comfortable, and she stood with it.
And a base hit into left field with one away. Larry is aboard, the junior from Riverside, California, King High School. Second hit of the weekend. And remember, after all that's happened, Kentucky only trailing 1-0 here in this series finale. Still a game that is there for the taking for head coach Rachel Lawson. And they're going to bring in a pinch runner. So Anna Mock stands in at first. And with Larry reaching and Mock coming in to run, it brings us back to Allie Blum, who you mentioned moments ago, a perfect 2 for 2 tonight, a triple and a single back in the 4th inning. Let's see what happens here as Gress comes in low for ball 1. Well, I mentioned to you as we went out to that last break, it seems like every time Kentucky's had a base runner, within the next pitch or two, the inning is ended. This one hit sharply to Blankenship, stabs it out of the air, and there's 2 away.
And it happens yet again, but this one was a line shot. I mean, Blum's been seeing Gress extremely well tonight, takes this ball and hits it on a frozen rope right to Blankenship at shortstop. Hard of the plate. Mock did just enough to hold her horses to get back and not allow that double play to get out the inning.
Back to Peyton Plotz. Oh for 2 tonight. Plotz has been outstanding over in right field. .336 hitter. Off-speed pitch over the heart. 0-2.
The ability to throw the changeup, but not only just throw it in counts that are 0-0, 0-1, 0-2, and be able to throw it for a strike is lethal as a pitcher, keeping these batters on their toes and guessing.
Gress with 1 strikeout tonight. Out of the zone, it's 1-2. It hasn't been overpowering, but it's just been able to control all of her pitches, both sides of the plate. And really outside of the 2-out triple by Blum.
Went another changeup high in the zone, then goes in with that rise ball at her hands and gets her to swing through it. I mean, that is just nasty. rise ball climbed the ladder, but how about the setup with the triple dipper and the changeup? You don't see that often, but she pulled the string on it 3 times and got the whiff on that rise.
Been a great start tonight for Julie Kelly. He's only given up the 3 hits and the 1 run. Here's Carly Shelton. Ball and a strike.
Kelly's first time this season going more than 5 innings. She's been looking extremely comfortable on the mound against this Gamecocks lineup. Giving up 1 run, but at the mercy of a throwing error and then a hit to score a Gamecock.
Yeah, it's important to point out the run that was scored was unearned. Cats' lone run this weekend coming via the solo blast. Cassie Reisner back in game 1 on Saturday night. Good piece of hitting for Carly Shelton here. Leadoff batter aboard for Carolina.
Another line shot straight through the middle of the field. This one on the inner half. She just inside outs this ball, gets a piece on it, sends it right back up the middle, and a leadoff runner for the Gamecocks. Some momentum can feel brewing for the Gamecocks. It's important for Kelly right now and the Wildcats to shut it down. Any inkling of momentum that they might have to continue to come back and give themselves the best chance to tie it and hopefully win it.
Ariana Rhodey 0 for 2 tonight. Why is that important? 37 game on base streak could be on the line in this at bat. And it's already 0-2. The crowd appreciated that last strike call. She's able to reach. That would establish a new Gamecock record. Former ice hockey standout from Rhode Island. LaSalle Academy, Charlotte transfer. 1-2. Not sure how many incredible softball players originate from Rhode Island, but Ari Rhodey, certainly one of them. Over to third, and Hutchins records the first out. Productive out as Shelton reaches second base. Hutchins has been solid over the hot corner this evening. Said the same thing about Ella Chansey as well for Carolina. And speak of Chansey, and there she is standing batter's box. A rocket down the right field, wide, and that's fair. It'll bounce all the way to the wall. Go sign is on. It's 2-0 Gamecocks. Throw to third is not in time. A run-scoring triple for Ella Chansey, and it's 2-0. First 3-bagger of the season for number 2 in pinstripes and team captain.
That momentum we talked about, getting the leadoff runner on, being that spark plug, does a phenomenal job at getting inside this ball, sending it to right field, getting another RBI. We talk about those insurance runs and how important that they are, and big smiles from Coach Chastain Woodard.
Pitching change in store for the Cats. 2-0 Gamecocks. We'll tell you about the new Kentucky pitcher after this. Bottom of the 6th inning, and South Carolina adds an insurance run. Ella Chansey standing at third base. Sarah Hindigas is now your new pitcher in the circle, the right-hander who was outstanding yesterday against these Gamecocks.
And she was. Julie Kelly did a phenomenal job coming in and holding these batters. 5 1/3 inning pitch, giving up only 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Is responsible for the runner at third, but Hendigas gonna come in today, throwing that change drop and rise, low to mid 60s, looking to stop the bleeding, to allow the Wildcats to come back in and hopefully even out the score, get their first win of the weekend.
Hindigas steps in, as does Lexi Winters. And the first pitch across the heart. 0-1. And those corner infielders take a few paces in as best as they can. Tired Kentucky infield. Few paces towards home plate. Ball and a strike.
Hindigas took the loss yesterday. Had a great game. 6 innings pitched. Gave up 5 hits. Only 1 earned run.
This one bunted foul. 1-2. Winters, the former AAC Defensive Player of the Year at Charlotte. Went to White Knoll High School right up the road in Lexington. Good stop by Hamilton. It's 2-2. Does it get to be a grind this point in April from a player's perspective in this conference?
I'm shaking my head because I know it all too well. It is a grind. At this point of the season, you got your trainer giving you gallons of water just to stay hydrated because it's tough. I mean, typically as a college player, you split the season into 3 parts. You got preseason, you got conference, and then you got postseason. And so at this point of the season, they're reaching the end, and got to be able to take care of yourself, take care of your bodies, but also stay focused to be able to withstand the duration of the whole entire season, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally.
A lot of boxes to check, and Lexi Winters, a good take, high and tight, ball 4. Carolina with runners at the corners, and now a pinch runner comes in for the Gamecocks. And coming up Wednesday, SEC Insight grants you an all-access pass. The Tennessee softball program at 9 o'clock Eastern. Never before seen footage and sound from players and coaches. A true behind-the-scenes look. The Lady Vols, Wednesday at 9 o'clock Eastern. Oh, Chloe Lackey, new runner at first base. And she's going to steal second, span of about 5 seconds. Gamecocks with runners at second and third.
And that bunt attempt or bunt show just allowed her to get to second base so easily with nobody covering.
Here's the squeeze, the toss home, not in time. 3-0 Carolina. Now the Gamecocks applying pressure with a new pitcher in the circle. After the free pass, a stolen base. And the squeeze makes it 3-0.
And how about just playing textbook softball, getting this bunt down to the first base side. Borzilleri just can't get her hand on it. I think she would have had a really good shot at getting this out at home if she were able to shovel it to Hamilton behind the plate. But Carolina seems as if they're all gas, no brakes, just trying to get as much Allstate as they can right now.
Insurance.
Runs. Allstate did not pay me for the promo. I got to make that clear.
Another stolen base after Blankenship reached on the fielder's choice. And now the Gamecocks with runners at second and third, still just 1 away. Brand new ball game at 3-0 for Abigail Knight. How stressful is it on a play like that for either the corner infielders or the pitcher between the circle and home plate, and you know the squeeze is coming?
Well, that's the thing, Roy. When you're playing at this caliber, you got to be able to make it less stressful. You got to be able to control your heartbeat. You've done that enough in practice to be able to understand when the ball goes here, I got to do this, I got to do that, and be able to put a glove on and make a play.
A blue play into left center. That plates another run, and the RBI single for Abigail Knight.
And the Gamecocks are just rolling right now, making adjustments. First time through the order, only going 1 for 8. Second time, 2 for 9. Now 3 for 5. A triple a walk, a sack, and how about this ball punched through the infield on a liner, scoring another run for the Gamecocks. That momentum that we talked about, that leadoff single, has now turned into 3 runs this inning, Roy.
Three runs are in here in the bottom of the 6th inning with runners at the corners. And the Gamecocks scored 20 runs this week.
Who's dealing with some things on the flip side, but got the start in game 1, got the loss. Only 2.2 innings pitched, but looking to come in, stop the bleeding. Still a lot of game left as long as there's outs on the board. It's the way that softball works, but out of fall, you're gonna see that rise, change in curve. Mid-60s. Strong competitor. But I love watching her because she just goes right at batters. Now, this is a high-pressure situation with South Carolina. Runners on the corners. Only 1 out, so an opportunity to get a double play here at second base, but South Carolina has been taking advantage of the first and thirds and just going straight for second.
You got 3 hits in the inning, a free pass, a couple of stolen bases, a squeeze play, and there's another stolen bag.
They're not wasting any time to try to get more runners in scoring position. We talked about what they did before. Bases wide open, no defenders even covering second base. That's tough. When you're in this league, I think you should almost always have a first and third play to try to limit the amount of runners that you have in scoring position or even period.
Knight now at second, Blankenship at third. For Sellers, sends that one foul. I mean, this is kind of the microcosm of what South Carolina has done this season in a game like this. The pitching has been outstanding. The 1 error by Shelton at second base. But manufacturing runs in innings, applying pressure with the squeeze, the stolen bases. And you see Sellers squaring to bunt. Swinging away. I mean, at that point, it becomes a little bit of a head game of sorts, right? When you square to bunt after the inning we've already seen, and then you pull the bat back and ready to swing away just a half second later.
See a lot of players go to that timing bunt. Even if they're not squaring away, you'll see her pull back here and get her hands in some sort of rhythm to be able to get her hands back.
So it's like a trigger move to kind of...
It can be. It can be. I did it in college. Sometimes I'll continue to do it, but a lot of batters you'll see kind of show bunt, but they're not necessarily showing bunt. They're just trying to get their hands in a rhythm and find a groove to be able to time up the ball to the best of their ability. And she did not time that one well enough, Roy.
Second out of the inning, and Fall records the strikeout on some high heat.
That rise ball just climbs the ladder, leaks over the plate, but with enough spin, enough finesse to be able to get her to swing through it despite the timing slap.
I don't think we had seen a pitch like that tonight.
We actually saw one in Gress. We saw one last inning, that rise ball.
From Kentucky.
Oh, yep.
But yes, from Gress, we certainly saw that in the exchange that we highlighted coming back. Was that the triple dipper?
It was. I'd love to see it.
Vincent, a shot to straightaway center. That ball is gone. How about it, Emily Vincent? First home run as a Gamecock.
An insult to injury it was. Vincent, we've seen her glove. We've seen what she can do on defense. And how about this yak? Straight to dead center field. This ball left all over the plate a little bit too much, and she just grips and rips, drives it straight to dead center field. A 3-run bomb by Vincent. and all the excitement from the coaches, from her teammates. Her first home run as a Gamecock, a 3-home run to put the Gamecocks up 7-0. How about it?
Began her career at Longwood. She's got on the big hat, an emotional moment after an incredible week. The game-winning run yesterday. The incredible SportsCenter top 10 play last week at Clemson, robbing the Tigers the 3-run home run. But when she entered the portal, the only reason she did so was to transfer to Columbia to play for Ashley Chastain Woodard and the Carolina softball program. 5-minute conversation. They figured out this was a match. Coach Chastain Woodard said we needed a player with her grit, her determination, her love for the game and the school. And it was a no-brainer decision. And after the last 7 days and all that she's meant to this program in different ways off the field, now on the field, it translates in a significant way.
It does, and it's a great story. I loved listening to the story. Vincent, all smiles, had a dream, went after it, was shameless about it. It worked out, and now she's thriving on the field in the very place that she dreamed of being. That is exactly why you come to schools like this, to be able to live out that dream, to be able to put it out on the line, and she's seeing it come to fruition. And how about the timing of it as well? I mean, no better time to get hot than right now, going into the last few weekends of SEC play and into postseason. This is the time.
Seven 0. Lelio.
The opportunity to now walk this game off in Mercy Rule fashion, with South Carolina being the home team on their turf. Lelio could change this game with one swing if she so decides. Honest and caring, I think, above all, just in talking about the players on her team and what they're able to do and the kind of people that they are, because I think it's way bigger than softball. You're coaching softball, but you're most importantly coaching people. But I also think that she's kind of funny too, if that helps the cause.
Sam Gress remains in the circle, trying to go the distance, 3 outs away from the complete game victory. And South Carolina 3 outs away, a 3-game sweep in which the pitching has really been lights out. Cats so far have scored just 1 run this weekend. It came back in the 3rd inning. Game number 1 on Saturday in a contest that feels like it was played about 2 years ago.
It did feel that way. We're seeing a lot of the South Carolina that we did see on Saturday with the light show. Yesterday was more of that pitcher's duel.
So during that last break, we were under the impression Neely Lamb was going to come in. She was warming up, and you can see wincing in pain and grabbing that arm ever so slightly. And so Gress re-enters.
Gress said, why not? Why not me? High hop out there. It'll be Gress's 3rd complete game of the season. And if she does complete this game, it'll be her first shutout of the season as well.
Coming up Saturday, 7th-ranked Florida, 9th-ranked LSU, a top 10 showdown, an enormous 3-game softball series. Game 1 starts 2 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. That is Saturday. Game 2 Sunday at 6 o'clock Eastern here on SEC Network. And Monday, the series finale, 7 o'clock Eastern. Gators and Tigers. Here it's Cats and Gamecocks. And UK with 3 outs to work with, try to mount a rally. 5, 6, and 7 up first. Mitchell, Reisner, and Clark. Hallie Mitchell. Off-speed pitch out of the zone. A tough weekend so far for the Wildcats. Runs have been hard to come by, and South Carolina back with a vengeance after tough series previous weekend at Arkansas. Midweek game against its arch rival in the upstate. And Mitchell 0 for 2 tonight, batting 5th.
Hasn't been a ton of production from the Wildcats tonight or throughout the weekend. But the bottom of the lineup, those hits have been pretty scarce throughout the course of the weekend.
Here's Shelton. Not in time. Well, great hustle out of the box right away from Mitchell. Leadoff batter aboard for UK.
Spoke a little bit too soon. Mitchell legs that one out, but only the third hits for the bottom half of the lineup throughout the course of the entire weekend. Mitchell mishits this ball on the end of the bat on the outer corner, but does so just enough. Allows herself to leg that one out, and seen a lot of speed today with these batters just legging it out to first base, and gives her team a chance, and that's all you can do at this point.
Mitchell, the only Kentucky player with a base hit in all 3 games this series. He's the only player before this game 3 to have it in the first 2 matchups. Reisner hits sharply to Chansey, trying to get the lead runner at second, and she does. Well, she threw that ball right there from her knees. Ella Chansey continues to make it look easy at the hot corner.
And all you can say is wow. And that ball is drilled into the 5-6 hole, and Chansey just puts her body on the line to try to get that out. And I anticipated her throwing it to first base with just how much space that there was in between Clark and first, but she tries to get the lead runner.
This will be an umpire's challenge. The play at second base is under video review.
And Alicia, my initial glance at that, it felt like that she could be safe.
I thought she was safe in real time. And that's why I thought that she was going to go to first base, because that probably was your only play on that ball.
Yeah, Reisner hit it sharply. Chansey did everything she could to keep it down, and she did. The throw to second to try to get the lead runner in Mitchell.
It's a good hustle.
Maybe our best angle here. Oh, boy. Is there enough there to overturn the call on the field?
It's a tough one.
Survey says.
After video review, the call on the field is upheld. That'll be the first out.
The last 2 shots started to create that doubt to overturn it. In real time, I agree with you. It felt like she was going to be called safe. They may have gotten it right again.
Roy, I have opinions.
Let's hear the opinions.
I just think there's a lot of room for error, and I'm not calling out any one umpire, but a lot of room for error when making calls that change the trajectory of certain games. And I think that one in specific, a good chance for the runner to be safe at second, but not enough evidence to overturn that call.
Well, great play by Chansey at third to create that opportunity at second. There's 1 out now in the top of the 7th. Kentucky quickly down 0-2 with Madison Clark. Clark 0 for 5. Coming into tonight, and 0 for 3 as the Cats are down to their final out.
And that is what we call nasty, ladies and gentlemen. This pitch, she just pulls the string on it completely out on her front side, buckles her knees. I mean, that is just a nasty changeup, and you could see the spin from the broadcast. 2
away for Hamilton. Gamecocks have been dominant this weekend, trying to close it out in the strongest way imaginable. The 7-0 shutout against a team that, by many accounts,
and South Carolina does a phenomenal job at keeping Kentucky at bay. Gress in the circle. How about her performance tonight? Going the distance, putting it out on the line for her team. There was another laser show tonight. 7-0. A bomb by Vincent at the bottom of the order. Her first bomb of the night, and a sweep for the South Carolina Gamecocks.